Lucky human crashed on a planet with 100 stunning alien beauties. David Rawlins gripped the controls of his cargo ship as another energy wave slammed into the hull. Warning lights flashed across his console, bathing the cockpit in an ominous red glow. The storm had appeared out of nowhere, defying all known spatial patterns had encountered in 15 years of deep space cargo runs. "Come on, baby, hold together," he muttered, wrestling with the controls as his ship plunged through the violet maelstrom. The engines screamed in protest as he fought to maintain stability. Through the chaos, his sensors detected a planet, habitable according to the readings, though the storm was playing havoc with his instruments. A massive surge rocked the ship, and the primary power core went dark. David's stomach lurched as the artificial gravity failed. Not good. Not good at all. He diverted emergency power to the landing thrusters, watching as the planet's surface rushed up to meet him. Dense purple forests covered the landscape below, broken only by scattered clearings and what looked like crystalline formations jutting from the canopy. The ship's hull groaned as it hit the atmosphere. David's muscles strained against the G-forces as he fought for control. He had one shot at this. The clearing ahead was his only chance for a survivable landing. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he calculated his approach angle. Impact came hard and fast. Metal screamed against Earth as the ship plowed through alien soil. David's head snapped forward, then back against his seat. His vision blurred, but his pilot's training kept his hands steady on the controls until the ship finally shuddered to a stop. Silence fell, broken only by the tick of cooling metal and the soft hiss of ruptured hydraulic lines. David released his death grip on the controls, flexing his fingers as feeling returned. A quick systems check confirmed his worst fears. The ship was grounded, the power core was completely dead, and half his systems were fried. "Well, Rawlins, you really did it this time," he said, unstrapping from his chair. His legs wobbled as he stood, muscles protesting the rough landing. A quick check in the first aid kit's mirror showed a nasty gash above his right eye. He cleaned and sealed it with medical foam, then grabbed his emergency pack. The cargo hold had fared better than the cockpit. Most of his shipment of industrial replicators was intact, though he doubted his clients on Centauri Prime would be getting their delivery on schedule. He pulled on an environmental suit before cycling the airlock. Better safe than sorry on an unknown world. Humid air hit him as he stepped onto alien soil. The purple forest loomed ahead, its canopy dancing with bioluminescent patterns. The crystalline formations had spotted from above revealed themselves as towering spires of what looked like pure diamond, refracting the light of the system's twin suns into rainbow patterns across the landscape. David activated his suit's atmospheric analyzer. The readout surprised him, perfectly breathable air, if a bit oxygen-rich. He retracted his helmet, inhaling deeply. The air carried a sweet scent, like jasmine mixed with something alien and indescribable. A sound caught his attention, a rustle in the underbrush that seemed too deliberate to be wind. He turned slowly, reaching for the pulse pistol at his hip. The movement came again, closer this time. David's fingers tightened on his weapon as he scanned the tree line. That's when he saw them. Eyes in the forest, watching. Not animal eyes, but intelligent ones, in colors he'd never seen before. As he watched, a figure emerged from the shadows. David's breath caught in his throat. She was tall, impossibly graceful, with skin the color of Earth's summer sky and hair like cotton candy clouds at sunset. Her eyes, a striking violet, studied him with equal parts curiosity and caution. She wore some kind of form-fitting garment that seemed to shift colors with her movements. Before David could speak, more figures emerged from the forest. All female, all with the same blue skin and pink hair, but each unique in height and feature. Their eyes ranged through every color imaginable, all focused intently on him. "Well," David said softly, lowering his weapon, "I guess this planet isn't as uninhabited as my chart suggested." The violet-eyed woman stepped forward, her movements fluid and graceful. David noticed subtle patterns of light playing beneath her blue skin, like Aurora Borealis in miniature. She spoke, and her voice carried musical undertones that made his spine tingle. "I am Lyra Valen, chief geneticist of the sanctuary. Your arrival was unexpected." Her command of English surprised him, though perhaps not unwelcome. "David Rawlins," he replied, fighting to keep his voice steady as more of the blue-skinned women emerged from the forest. "Cargo pilot. I had some trouble with an energy storm. A taller woman with striking golden eyes and short pink hair moved to flank Lyra, her athletic frame coiled with barely contained energy. "The barrier storm," she said, her tone accusatory. "The one that keeps our sanctuary hidden. Yet somehow you penetrated it." "Commander Nyra," Lyra cautioned, though her own violet eyes showed similar suspicion. "He is injured. Questions can wait." David touched the sealed gash above his eye self-consciously. "Look, I'm just trying to repair my ship and continue my delivery run. If I've violated some kind of restricted space, I apologize." A soft laugh came from behind the others. A shorter woman with turquoise eyes pushed forward, her long pink hair flowing in the breeze. "A delivery run? The first male to find our world in 3 centuries, and he's a delivery man?" "Arya," came a commanding voice, and the gathered women parted. An older female approached, her elaborate pink braids marking her status as clearly as her regal bearing. Her silver eyes fixed on David with penetrating intensity. "I am Matriarch Selene Kovari. You stand in a sanctuary that has remained hidden from the galaxy for generations. Your presence here creates complications." David looked around at the gathered women. He counted at least 30 in view, all with that striking combination of blue skin and pink hair, but with builds ranging from petite to Amazonian. "I'm sensing that. But I don't understand. Why hide? And why only women?" A shadow passed over the matriarch's face. "Come. Your injuries should be treated, and this discussion requires privacy." She gestured toward one of the crystal spires. As they walked, David noticed more women emerging from various directions, all watching him with intense interest. The spire's interior defied its exterior appearance. Advanced technology seamlessly integrated with the crystalline structure. They entered what appeared to be a medical bay, where Lyra directed him to sit on an examination platform. "The male members of our species were lost centuries ago," Lyra explained as she ran a scanner over his injuries. "A genetic plague that targeted specific chromosomal patterns. We who remained established this sanctuary to preserve our species while searching for a solution." "And your ability to speak English?" David asked, trying not to focus on how close she stood, or the way her skin seemed to shimmer with bioluminescent patterns that intensified when she moved. "We study all spacefaring races," Commander Nyra said from her position by the door, "especially humans. Your species has shown remarkable genetic adaptability." The implications of that statement hung in the air. David swallowed hard as he noticed the way the commander's golden eyes roamed over him. The younger woman, Arya, grinned at his discomfort. "Your injuries are minor," Lyra announced, though she continued to scan him with obvious scientific interest. "But these readings? Your genetic structure is fascinating." "The storm that brought down your ship," the matriarch said, "was designed to repel normal spacecraft, that you passed through it." She exchanged meaningful looks with Lyra. "Suggests genetic compatibility markers we've never seen before," Lyra finished, her violet eyes wide with excitement. The luminescent patterns beneath her skin pulsed faster. Commander Nyra stepped forward, her tall frame imposing. "The question is what we do with him now. He knows of our existence, of our vulnerability." "I don't mean any harm," David said quickly. "Help me repair my ship, and he'll swear to keep your secret." "I'm afraid it's not that simple," the matriarch said softly. "Your arrival may be more than accident. We must determine if you are the key we've been searching for. The salvation of our species may depend on it." David looked around the room at the 4 women, the commanding matriarch, the brilliant scientist, the powerful warrior, and the young reformer. Each watched him with different intentions in their otherworldly eyes. He had a feeling his delivery run just got a lot more complicated. The following days passed in a blur of medical tests and cultural revelations. David found himself spending most of his time in Lyra's laboratory, trying not to be distracted by the way her skin's bioluminescence intensified whenever she made an exciting discovery. "Your genetic structure shows remarkable adaptability," Lyra said, leaning close to examine a holographic display of his DNA. Her pink hair brushed his arm, sending an unexpected shiver through him. "The way your cells respond to external stimuli is unlike anything in our database." "Is that good or bad?" David asked, watching the play of light beneath her blue skin. The patterns seemed to flow toward him whenever she moved closer. "It's fascinating," she breathed, violet eyes bright with enthusiasm. "It might explain how you survived the barrier storm. Your cells actually adapted to the energy pattern instead of being disrupted by it. A new voice interrupted them. Are these tests really necessary, Lyra, or are you just enjoying the novel specimen? Commander Naira stood in the doorway, her tall frame filling it imposingly. The security chief's golden eyes fixed on David with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. Her short pink hair seemed to catch the light like rose gold metal. The matriarch authorized these studies, Lyra replied, straightening. David noticed how her skin's luminescence shifted to a faster, more agitated pattern. And what about his ship repairs? Naira moved into the room with predatory grace. Unless you plan to keep him here indefinitely? The repair crews are working on it, David interjected, standing. He had to look up to meet Naira's golden gaze. Though I admit, I'm curious about your people. 3 centuries is a long time to maintain this level of secrecy. Perhaps I could show you why, Naira suggested, stepping closer. A tour of our defense systems might help you understand, privately. Lyra's skin flashed with bright patterns. The matriarch hasn't authorized? Actually, Arya's voice chimed in as she slipped into the lab. She has. In fact, she's called a full council meeting. All of us, including David. The young reformer's turquoise eyes sparkled with mischief as she looked between the 3 of them. Her flowing pink hair seemed to dance with her barely contained excitement. The council chamber occupied the heart of the crystal spire. David entered to find himself surrounded by the most diverse gathering of Lysarians had seen yet. 100 pairs of eyes in every conceivable color turned to study him. Matriarch Selene sat at the head of a crescent-shaped table, her silver eyes unreadable. David Rawlins, she began, her voice carrying easily through the chamber, your presence has sparked considerable debate among our people. Some believe your arrival was destined, one council member said, her emerald eyes bright with conviction. Others think you represent a security risk, another added, ruby eyes narrowing. The truth, Selene continued, is that your genetic compatibility exceeds our highest projections, which leaves us with a choice. She gestured to Lyra. The geneticist stepped forward, her skin glowing with complex patterns as all eyes turned to her. Our studies suggest human DNA, specifically David's might hold the key to reversing the plague's effects, but the process would require, she paused, violet eyes meeting his, intimate cellular integration. David's mouth went dry as the implications sank in. Commander Naira moved to stand beside him, her tall frame radiating heat. The question is whether you're willing to help us, she said softly, golden eyes intense, and if so, how we proceed. There are protocols, Lyra interjected quickly, her luminescence pulsing faster. Scientific procedures? Our species doesn't have time for overcaution, Nira countered, her hand brushing David's arm. Arya laughed softly. I think what our esteemed colleagues are failing to say clearly is that they're both interested in being first to test this compatibility. The chamber erupted in excited whispers. David watched the interplay of bioluminescent patterns around him, realizing each woman's light show betrayed her emotional state. The waves of light flowing through the crowd told a story of attraction, competition, and possibility. Enough, Selene commanded, rising. David must be given time to consider his role in our future. For tonight, he will join us in the gathering of lights. Her silver eyes held his. Perhaps then he will better understand what is at stake. As the council dispersed, David found himself surrounded by Lyra, Naira, and Arya. Each watched him with different intentions in their otherworldly eyes, their skin glowing with distinct patterns of attraction and challenge. The gathering of lights, Arya said with a grin, is going to be very interesting this year. The gathering of lights transformed the crystal spire into a cascade of living colors. Hundreds of Lysarian women filled the grand hall, their bioluminescent patterns creating waves of light that rippled through the crowd. David had never seen anything so breathtaking. Magnificent, isn't it? Lyra stood close beside him, her violet eyes reflecting the surrounding lights. Her formal attire, a flowing garment that seemed made of liquid crystal, enhanced her natural luminescence. This celebration dates back to before the plague. David tried to focus on her words rather than the way her blue skin seemed to shimmer with increasing brightness whenever their arms brushed. How exactly does the celebration work? It's a ritual of attraction. Commander Naira's voice came from his other side. She wore a form-fitting outfit that emphasized her tall, athletic frame. Our ancestors used their bioluminescence to signal compatibility. The patterns can't lie about attraction. Her golden eyes fixed on him as her skin pulsed with unmistakably inviting patterns. Lyra's own luminescence flared in response, creating intricate swirls that flowed toward David. Though some of us prefer to let science guide such important decisions. And some of us, Arya danced past, her turquoise eyes sparkling, think you're both being too serious about everything. David was about to respond when a different pattern caught his eye, a rapid, urgent flashing coming from across the hall. A younger Lysarian woman was speaking intensely with the matriarch, whose silver eyes had widened in concern. Celine's voice cut through the celebration. "Commander Naira, your presence is required immediately." The security chief straightened, professional instincts taking over. "Stay here," she ordered David before striding away, her skin's patterns shifting to alert mode. "Something's wrong," Lyra murmured, her own luminescence dimming with worry. She grabbed David's arm as he moved to follow Naira. "Wait, look at the matriarch's patterns." David studied Celine's bioluminescence, rapid, jagged pulses that spread to those around her. Soon the whole room rippled with agitation. The celebration mood evaporated as security officers moved through the crowd. "Your ship's emergency beacon," Lyra said suddenly. "It's still active, isn't it?" David's blood ran cold. Standard protocol after a crash, but with the barrier storm. The storm's interference is fluctuating. Arya appeared beside them, her usual playful demeanor gone. Someone's picked up the signal. The Grand Hall erupted in controlled chaos as Commander Naira returned. "3 ships have entered the system," she announced. "Their energy signatures match consortium salvage vessels." Scavengers. Lyra's skin pulsed with anger. They follow distress signals, hoping to strip abandoned ships. "But they'll find much more than a wreck," David realized. "They'll discover your sanctuary." Precisely why they cannot be allowed to leave, Celine's voice carried authority as she approached. "Commander, initiate defense protocols." "Wait," David stepped forward. "Let me talk to them. I can claim salvage rights as the ship's pilot. Get them to leave without—" A new alarm cut through the hall. Naira's golden eyes narrowed as she checked a holographic display. Energy surge from the approaching ships. They're scanning the surface. They've already detected the Spire's power signature. "Get him to the secure archives," Celine ordered. "Now!" Lyra grabbed David's arm and pulled him toward a crystalline lift. Arya followed as they descended deep into the Spire's foundations. The archive chamber was a vast library of holographic data, its walls lined with softly glowing crystals. "What aren't you telling me?" David demanded as Lyra rushed to a central console. "The consortium ships," she said, fingers flying over the controls. "Their configuration is wrong for salvage vessels. Those are research ships, the same type that visited our homeworld before the plague." Holographic images sprang to life around them, historical records showing similar ships orbiting a blue-tinted planet. "The plague wasn't natural, was it?" David asked, though he already knew the answer. "No." Arya's voice was uncharacteristically bitter. "It was engineered, designed to target our males while leaving females alive for study. Our ancestors fled here to escape further experimentation." "The consortium created the plague?" David watched as more images appeared, laboratory data, genetic sequences, research notes. A rogue faction within it. Lyra's violet eyes were hard. They saw our species' genetic adaptability as a resource to be harvested. The plague was meant to make us dependent on their help, their research. "But it worked too well," Arya added. "Killed all our males before they could swoop in as saviors. We escaped with what remained of our population." A distant rumbling shook the archive. Naira's voice came through a communication crystal. "They're attempting to breach the barrier storm. Our defenses are responding, but they're using frequencies that match our technology." They knew exactly what to look for. David stared at the historical images, then at the genetic data still flowing across the displays. "Your research with me, the compatibility you found, it's not just about saving your species, is it?" "No," Lyra's skin pulsed with complex emotions. "Human adaptability might finally let us fight back, create a true cure, not just survival." Another explosion rocked the chamber. Above them, the sounds of battle began to echo through the crystal spire. The archive chamber shook with another distant explosion. David watched as Lyra's fingers danced across the holographic controls, bringing up more historical data. Her skin's luminescence had shifted to rapid, agitated patterns that matched the urgency of their situation. "There's something else," she said, violet eyes fixed on the displays, something the matriarch never told even the council. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper, about the true nature of human compatibility. Arya moved closer, her turquoise eyes widening as she read the data. These tests, they're dated before the plague. Our ancestors were already studying humans? Not just studying. Lyra's skin pulsed with intense patterns. They were preparing. Look at these genetic markers. They're exact matches to what we found in David's DNA. A new voice cut through their discovery. Because they engineered them into our genome. Commander Nyra emerged from the shadows of the archive, her tall frame tense with contained energy. Her golden eyes locked onto David. Our ancestors knew they needed an escape plan. You knew? Arya demanded, her usual playful demeanor replaced with anger that made her skin flash brightly. The Security Council maintains certain historical records. Nyra moved closer, her own luminescence revealing complex emotional patterns. Our ancestors discovered the consortium's plan before the plague was released. They didn't have time to stop it, but they did manage one last act of genetic manipulation. They modified your species to be compatible with humans, David realized, as a failsafe. With specific humans, Lyra corrected, bringing up more data. They wrote the compatibility markers to activate only in the presence of certain genetic sequences that would allow for true integration, not just surface compatibility. Another explosion rocked the chamber, closer this time. Nyra's skin flashed with alert patterns. The outer defenses are failing. They're using our own technology against us. Because they helped design it, came Celine's voice as the matriarch entered the archive. Her elaborate braids were slightly disheveled, but her bearing remained regal, just as they helped design the plague that killed our males. You kept this from us, Lyra's violet eyes blazed. All these years of research, of searching for a solution, we needed to be sure. Celine cut her off. The compatibility had to develop naturally, not through manipulation. When David passed through the barrier storm, when his genetic structure showed perfect resonance with our markers, her silver eyes met his. We knew he was the one our ancestors prepared for. David felt the weight of their gazes. Lyra's scientific intensity, Nyra's controlled desire, Arya's curious excitement, and Celine's measured evaluation. Their skin patterns created a symphony of light that reflected their competing emotions. The consortium ships are deploying landing craft, Nyra reported, checking a tactical display. Their weapons are designed to incapacitate, not destroy. They still want us for their experiments. Then we need to move quickly, Celine decided. Lyra, you've developed theories about accelerating the integration process? The geneticist's skin pulsed with professional pride. Yes, but it would require direct cellular contact, intimate proximity to allow the compatibility markers to fully activate. How intimate? David asked, though the way Nyra's golden eyes darkened and Lyra's luminescence intensified told him plenty. The gathering of lights was meant to be your introduction to our mating rituals, Arya explained, her own patterns showing amusement despite the situation. The bioluminescence guides the cellular synchronization. Another blast shuddered through the spire. Crystal shards fell from the ceiling as warning signals flashed across the archive's displays. We're out of time for proper protocols. Nyra stepped closer to David, her tall frame radiating heat. The integration needs to happen now while our defenses still hold. The choice of primary partner is yours, Celine told him, but choose quickly. The future of our species depends on establishing the first successful integration before the consortium reaches us. David looked between Lyra and Nyra, the brilliant scientist whose violet eyes held the promise of discovery, and the powerful warrior whose golden gaze offered protection and passion. Their skin patterns told a story of attraction and competition that needed no translation. Perhaps, Arya suggested with a knowing smile, you should let their bioluminescence guide you. The patterns don't lie about true compatibility. Above them, the sounds of battle grew closer as the consortium forces pressed their advantage. The time for politics and careful planning was over. Now, only action would determine the fate of the Lysarian species. David's decision was made for him as another explosion rocked the archive chamber. Lyra stumbled forward, and he caught her instinctively. The moment their skin touched, her bioluminescent patterns surged with incredible brightness, spreading to where his hands steadied her. Fascinating, she breathed, violet eyes wide as she watched the light patterns flow between them. The compatibility markers are already activating on cellular contact. Save the scientific observations for later, Naira ordered, her golden eyes tracking multiple tactical displays. We have incoming dropships, 30 seconds until they breach our upper defenses. The integration chamber, Celine decided. It's the most heavily shielded section of the spire. Her silver eyes fixed on David and Lyra. Commander, escort them, Arya, with me to the control center. The young reformer's turquoise eyes sparkled with determination as she followed the matriarch. Try not to have too much fun without me. Naira led them through crystalline corridors that pulsed with warning lights. The integration chamber proved to be a circular room whose walls rippled with organic patterns. Sheets of living crystal flowed like liquid glass, creating an environment that seemed to breathe. The chamber enhances natural bioluminescent responses, Lyra explained as they entered. Her own skin was glowing more intensely by the second. It will accelerate the cellular synchronization process. Romantic, David commented, trying to lighten the tension. The effect was ruined by another explosion that seemed to come from directly above them. They're targeting power distribution nodes, Naira reported from the doorway. Her tall frame was silhouetted by emergency lighting, skin pulsing with alert patterns. Standard consortium tactics: disable, then capture. How long do we have? Lyra asked, already moving to the chamber's control console. Minutes at best. Our outer defenses are failing systematically. Naira's golden eyes met David's. Whatever you're going to do it fast. Her skin flashed with complex patterns that might have been regret or desire or both. The chamber doors sealed as Naira departed to coordinate the defense. David turned to find Lyra watching him, her blue skin almost incandescent with anticipation. Her pink hair seemed to float in the chamber's energy field. The process requires complete cellular contact, she said, her scientific tone belied by the intensity of her bioluminescent patterns. The chamber will enhance the natural response, but we must... I understand. David stepped closer, drawn by the light playing across her skin. No more time for protocols. The kiss was electric. Literal energy passed between them as their lips met, Lyra's bioluminescence surging through both their bodies. Her skin felt like silk beneath his hands, radiating a warmth that seemed to reach into his cells. They were interrupted by Naira's voice over the comm system. Multiple breaches on upper levels. They're using some kind of neural disruptor. Our defenders are dropping too quickly. Lyra pulled back slightly, violet eyes dark with both desire and concern. The neural disruptors, they're targeting our bioluminescent systems, using our own biology against us. Can they reach us here? David asked, still holding her close as energy continued to flow between them. They've breached the main power core. Naira's voice was tight with tension. Switching to auxiliary systems, but our defenses are failing. We need that integration completed now. The chamber's organic walls pulsed faster, responding to the emergency protocols. Lyra's skin blazed with light as she pressed closer to David. Trust the patterns, she whispered against his lips. Let them guide the integration. Around them, the sounds of battle grew closer. The fate of an entire species hung in the balance as ancient genetic codes began to awaken. David surrendered himself to the flow of energy between them, watching in amazement as their combined bioluminescence created entirely new patterns. Somewhere above, he heard Arya's voice over the comm, multiple contacts entering the lower levels. They're heading for the integration chamber. Commander Naira is engaging, but... The transmission cut off in a burst of static. The chamber's walls rippled with warning patterns as the battle for survival entered its most critical phase. The integration chamber pulsed with waves of light as David and Lyra's combined bioluminescence created increasingly complex patterns. Her skin burned like blue fire against his, violet eyes dark with both passion and purpose as ancient genetic codes awakened between them. The cellular synchronization is progressing faster than any simulation predicted, Lyra gasped, her scientific mind still analyzing even as her body responded to their deepening connection. Your genetic adaptability is... She was cut off by the chamber's warning system. The organic walls flashed urgent patterns as heavy weapons fire echoed from the corridor outside. Commander Naira's voice crackled through the failing comm system. Multiple hostiles approaching your position. The neural disruptors are... Static interrupted her report, followed by the sounds of intense combat. "Fall back! Protect the integration chamber at all costs!" David tried to pull away, but Lyra held him close. "We can't stop now," she insisted, her skin pulsing with determination. "The process has reached a critical phase. Breaking it could damage the genetic bonds forming between us." The chamber doors shuddered under heavy impact. Through the crystalline walls, they could see the shadows of combat. Nira's tall frame moved with lethal grace as she engaged multiple attackers, her golden eyes fierce in the emergency lighting. "Your commander's buying us time," David observed, watching as Nira single-handedly held the corridor. "At what cost?" "She understood the stakes when she let me be your first," Lyra's voice softened. "Her feelings for you are genuine, but she puts duty first. The integration must succeed." Another explosion rocked the chamber. Through a crack in the crystal wall, they glimpsed Arya fighting alongside Nira, the young reformer's turquoise eyes blazing as she wielded some kind of energy weapon with surprising skill. "The neural disruptors are affecting our defenders," Lyra explained, her own luminescence flickering as the enemy weapon's influence grew stronger. "They're designed to disrupt our natural bioluminescent patterns, leaving us vulnerable." But they didn't count on human DNA in the mix, David realized as their combined patterns stabilized, resistant to the disruption. The integration is creating something new. Lyra's violet eyes widened as she checked the chamber's readings. The genetic markers, they're not just combining, they're evolving, creating a hybrid pattern that could protect our entire species from their weapons. The chamber doors buckled under another assault. Through the widening gaps, they could see consortium troops in sleek battle armor advancing down the corridor. Nira and Arya fell back steadily, covering each other with practiced coordination. "I never knew you could fight," Nira called to Arya as they took cover behind a crystal pillar. "There's a lot about the younger generation you don't know," Arya replied with a fierce grin, her skin pulsing with battle excitement. "We've been preparing for this day." Inside the chamber, the integration reached new intensity. David felt Lyra's consciousness brush against his as their genetic codes intertwined more deeply. Through their connection, he sensed other presences, hundreds of Lysarian minds linked through their species' bioluminescent network. "The neural disruptors," Lyra gasped. "They're not just weapons. They're trying to access our shared consciousness, take control of our entire species at once." "Not going to happen." David pulled her closer, feeling their combined resistance grow stronger. Their merged bioluminescence created shields of pure energy that rippled through the chamber. A massive explosion breached the outer doors. Nira was thrown backward, her golden eyes meeting David's through the gap. Blood trickled from a cut on her blue skin, but her expression was triumphant. "They're too late," she announced, firing her weapon one-handed as she regained her feet. "Look!" The chamber's walls had become transparent, revealing the scene throughout the spire. Everywhere, Lysarian defenders were beginning to glow with new patterns. Hybrid luminescence that matched what flowed between David and Lyra. The integration, Lyra's voice filled with wonder. It's spreading through the collective consciousness, protecting everyone. "No!" A new voice echoed from the corridor. A consortium commander stepped into view, his armor more elaborate than the others. "The specimens must be contained. The experiment must be controlled." "The only thing being contained," Matriarch Seleni's voice rang out as she appeared behind the enemy forces, "is you." Her silver eyes blazed as she held up a crystal device. "Now, Commander Nira." The security chief slammed her hand onto a hidden panel. Energy fields sprang up, trapping the consortium forces between barriers of pure light. Their neural disruptors sputtered and died as the hybrid bioluminescence overwhelmed their technology. Inside the chamber, David felt the integration reach its peak. Lyra's skin blazed like a newborn star as their genetic codes completed their merger, creating something that had never existed before. A perfect fusion of human adaptability and Lysarian bioluminescent power. The fate of two species hung in the balance as ancient plans and modern choices collided in a shower of light and possibility. The trapped consortium forces responded with desperate violence. Their commander raised a device different from the neural disruptors, its core pulsing with ominous red light. "If we can't control the specimens, the failsafe protocol will eliminate them," he snarled, "just like their males." "No." Lyra's violet eyes widened in recognition. It's a targeted viral dispersal unit, the same delivery system they used for the original plague. David felt her fear through their newly forged connection, but also her determination. Their combined bioluminescence created shields of pure energy as the integration continued to strengthen their bond. The integration is still spreading through the collective consciousness, she explained quickly. If that virus releases before the process completes. Naira's golden eyes blazed as she assessed the situation. How long do you need? Minutes. Lyra's skin pulsed with urgent patterns. Maybe less. The hybrid genetic code is propagating faster than expected, but... The commander activated his device. Red mist began seeping through the energy barriers, causing nearby Lysarian defenders to stumble as their natural bioluminescence flickered. Fall back, Naira ordered, pushing Arya towards safety as the young reformer's turquoise eyes began to dim. Get clear of the dispersal range. But Arya stood her ground, skin pulsing with defiant light. The younger generation isn't as vulnerable as they think. She raised her hands, and her bioluminescent patterns shifted to match the hybrid energy flowing from the integration chamber. Throughout the spire, younger Lysarians began to glow with the same resistant patterns. Celine's silver eyes widened in understanding. You knew, the matriarch breathed. Somehow you knew this day would come. We found the ancestral records, Arya admitted, her own luminescence growing stronger. About the genetic modifications. Some of us began experimenting, preparing our bodies to receive the hybrid code when the right human arrived. The consortium commander laughed. Foolish creatures. Your genetic tinkering only makes you more vulnerable to the enhanced virus. Your entire species will be... His voice cut off as Commander Naira's weapon struck him from behind. The viral device flew from his grip, but the red mist was already spreading rapidly through the spire's crystal corridors. Now, David... Lyra pulled him closer as their integration reached its peak. Let the hybrid patterns flow. Trust the connection. David surrendered completely to their bond, feeling Lyra's consciousness merge fully with his own. Their combined bioluminescence exploded outward in a wave of pure energy that rippled through the entire sanctuary. Where the hybrid light touched the red mist, the virus dissipated. The consortium troops watched in horror as their weapon dissolved into harmless particles. Impossible, their commander gasped from where he lay wounded. The virus was engineered to be perfect. Which was your mistake? Lyra's voice rang with triumph as she and David emerged from the integration chamber, their skin glowing with synchronized patterns. Perfect things can't adapt, but life finds a way to survive through change, through combination, through evolution. Throughout the spire, Lysarian defenders were recovering, their bioluminescence transformed by the hybrid patterns. Even those initially affected by the virus were regaining strength as the new genetic code rewrote their cellular structure. The integration didn't just make us compatible, Arya realized, watching the patterns flow through her own skin. It made us stronger, better than either species alone. Naira moved to secure the consortium commander, her golden eyes hard. Your ancestors tried to enslave us through genetics, but you never understood the true power of genetic diversity. The sanctuary was never just about survival, Celine announced, her silver eyes sweeping the gathered crowds. It was about becoming something more. Our ancestors knew that only by combining with humanity's adaptability could we truly evolve beyond the limitations they tried to force upon us. David felt Lyra's hand tighten in his as they watched their shared luminescence continue to spread. Through their bond, he sensed the thousands of Lysarian minds connected in a vast network of light and consciousness, no longer afraid of outside influences but strengthened by the very diversity their enemies had tried to prevent. The consortium's perfect virus had been defeated by imperfect, beautiful, ever-changing life, and in the glow of that victory, two species had become something entirely new. In the days following the consortium's defeat, the crystal spire hummed with new energy. The hybrid bioluminescence had transformed not just the Lysarians' biology, but their entire society. David watched from a high balcony as hundreds of blue-skinned women moved through the corridors below, their pink hair and varied heights creating a living tapestry illuminated by their evolved patterns of light. Beautiful, isn't it? Lyra joined him at the railing, her violet eyes reflecting the glow from their still synchronized luminescence, each pattern unique, yet part of a greater whole. Through their bond, David felt her contentment mixed with uncertainty. The integration had created a connection deeper than either had expected. Their merged consciousness allowed thoughts and emotions to flow freely between them, making words almost unnecessary. "The repair crews found something in your ship's cargo," she continued, her skin pulsing with complex patterns. "The industrial replicators you were transporting? They're exactly what we need to rebuild our defense systems." "Quite a coincidence," Commander Naira's voice came from behind them. She approached with her characteristic grace, golden eyes thoughtful. "Almost as if something guided your ship to us." David turned to face the security chief. Her tall frame was silhouetted against the crystal walls, her short pink hair catching the light. "You think the crash wasn't an accident?" "The ancestral records suggest our genetic modifications included a form of quantum entanglement," Arya chimed in, emerging from a side corridor. Her turquoise eyes sparkled with excitement. "The compatibility markers might have actually drawn you here when the time was right." Speaking of time, Matriarch Selene approached, her elaborate braids swaying as she walked. "The consortium ships have been secured, but their presence means others will come looking eventually. We must decide our next steps carefully." David felt Lyra tense beside him. Through their connection, he sensed her fear of losing him, mixed with her determination to do what was best for her people. "The integration's effects are spreading faster than we anticipated," she reported, her scientific mind focusing on data rather than emotions. "The hybrid genetic code is expressing differently in each individual, creating a diversity of abilities we never imagined possible. Some of us can now generate defensive energy fields," Naira demonstrated by creating a shimmer of force around her hand. "Others have developed enhanced healing abilities or stronger telepathic connections." "The younger generation is showing the most dramatic changes," Arya added, her own skin displaying incredibly complex light patterns. "We're becoming something entirely new." "Which brings us to you, David Rollins," Selene's silver eyes fixed on him. "Your cargo run to Centauri Prime is long overdue. If you wish to return to your life among the stars, we would understand." The choice hung in the air like crystallized light. Through his bond with Lyra, David felt the collective consciousness of the Lysarian species, their hopes, their fears, their growing potential. But he also felt the pull of his old life, the freedom of space, the simplicity of being just another cargo pilot. "There's another option," Lyra said softly, her violet eyes meeting his. "The integration created something unprecedented. Our genes didn't just combine, they're still evolving. Each new pairing could advance our species further, create new expressions of the hybrid code." "The sanctuary was built to preserve our people," Naira added, her golden eyes intense. "But perhaps its true purpose was to prepare us for this transformation, to become something greater through diversity rather than genetic purity." "The choice must be yours," Selene said. "But know that whatever you decide will shape not just your future, but the future of our entire species." David looked at each of them, Lyra with her brilliant mind and deep connection to him, Naira with her strength and hidden depths, Arya with her youth and vision of change, and Selene with her wisdom and acceptance of evolution. Their blue skin glowed with expectation, pink hair shifting in the energy fields that now filled the sanctuary. Through the spire's crystal walls, he could see his damaged ship on the landing field below. The cargo hold still contained enough replicators to rebuild the sanctuary's defenses, to create something new and strong, just as the integration had created something new and strong within him. The time had come to choose between the stars he had known and the light he had discovered. David stood in the integration chamber where everything had begun, watching the living crystal walls pulse with hybrid luminescence that matched the patterns flowing across his skin. The genetic changes weren't just permanent, they were still evolving, making him as much a part of this new species as any of the Lysarians. "The replicators are fully installed," Lyra reported, entering the chamber. Her violet eyes softened as their bond hummed with shared emotion. "The sanctuary's defenses are stronger than ever." "And the consortium ships?" he asked, though he could feel the answer through their connection. "Commander Nira's team stripped them down to their components," she smiled, her blue skin glowing with satisfaction. "Their technology will help protect us now, not control us." Naira herself appeared in the doorway, her tall frame radiating confidence. The last of the consortium crew have been secured for transport to the Federation Detention Center. Anonymous tip about illegal genetic warfare experiments should keep them occupied for a few decades. Speaking of occupied, Arya bounded in, her turquoise eyes sparkling with their usual mischief. The first wave of genetic expressions is stabilizing. Wait until you see what some of us can do now. As if to demonstrate, the young reformer created a complex display of light patterns that danced through the air like aurora borealis. Her pink hair seemed to float in the energy field she generated. The hybrid code affects each individual differently, Lyra explained, her scientist's mind still cataloging every development. It's creating a diversity of abilities we never imagined possible. More importantly, Matriarch Selene said as she joined them, her silver eyes serene, it's creating true resistance to any future attempts at genetic manipulation. We are finally free to choose our own path of evolution. David felt the weight of that freedom through the collective consciousness he now shared. The Lysarians were transforming into something beyond what either their ancestors or their enemies had envisioned. And he had become part of that transformation. Your shipping company sent another message, Naira reported, her golden eyes watching him carefully. They're offering a substantial bonus if you complete the delivery to Centauri Prime. Through his bond with Lyra, David felt her emotional control waver slightly. Despite their deep connection, she would support whatever choice he made. That selfless love made his decision even clearer. Send them my resignation, he said, reaching for Lyra's hand. Her skin pulsed with joy as their luminescence synchronized. Tell them their cargo will be returned with interest for breach of contract. My piloting days are done. Oh, I wouldn't say that, Arya grinned. Someone needs to test our new hybrid ships once they're built. Those replicators aren't just for defensive systems. The sanctuary was meant to preserve our species, Selene nodded. Now it will be a launching point for something greater. A place where we can grow, explore, and evolve freely. Together, Naira added, her own acceptance of change showing in the complex patterns flowing across her athletic frame. The integration showed us that strength comes from unity, not isolation. David felt Lyra's consciousness brush against his, sharing visions of their future. The hybrid genetics would continue to evolve, creating new possibilities with each generation. Their children would carry both human adaptability and Lysarian luminescence, along with whatever new abilities emerged from the combination. The consortium tried to control evolution, Lyra said, violet eyes bright with possibility. But true evolution can't be controlled, it can only be embraced. Throughout the crystal spire, hundreds of blue-skinned women went about their lives, their pink hair and varied heights, creating a living artwork illuminated by their hybrid patterns. Each was unique, yet part of a greater whole. Through the collective consciousness, David felt their hopes, their dreams, their growing understanding of what they were becoming. He had crashed on this planet expecting to find wilderness and instead discovered wonders. He had been drawn here by ancient genetic markers but stayed because of love, and in choosing to remain he had helped transform not just himself but an entire species. So, Arya asked with a playful flutter of luminescence, ready to help us redefine what's possible? David looked at each of them. The brilliant scientist who had captured his heart, the powerful warrior who had earned his respect, the young visionary who had shown him potential, and the wise leader who had trusted in evolution. Their blue skin glowed with the light of new beginnings, their pink hair caught in the energy fields of possibility. Through the crystal walls, the twin suns painted the sky in colors that matched the luminescence they all now shared. Something ancient had ended here, but something wonderful was just beginning. Ready, he answered, letting his own hybrid patterns join the symphony of light around them. Let's show the galaxy what evolution really means.